Well, hello everyone. This is Tim, and as I predicted, the Chiefs would beat the Bengals. I think I had them winning by 10. And if Patrick Mahomes hadn't dropped that meatball in the third quarter, given Cincinnati a short field and a tying score, the Chiefs may have very well won by 10 instead of on a last-second field goal as we were about to go to overtime. Thanks to the Bengals linebacker who hit Mahomes out of bounds, giving a 15-yard penalty, putting Butker in scoring position for that game-winning 45-yard field goal. The Chiefs would have had 7 seconds to move the ball closer and had to get out of bounds in order for Butker to get that field goal. But Mahomes scampered at 18 miles per hour on a bad ankle. Yes, they did clock Patrick Mahomes at 18 miles an hour on a bad ankle on that third down play where he ran around the right side and picked up the first down, and as he was out of bounds, was hit by Osai, the Cincinnati linebacker, and that garnered unnecessary roughness and an additional 15 yards, leading to the game-winning field goal by Butker. A few notes on the game. Mahomes gutted it out. He was like Tiger Woods in the U.S. Open a few years back when Tiger won that last U.S. Open on one stick. Patrick Mahomes on 1 foot, gimping around late in the game, was able to get it done. Big props also to Chris Jones, who showed up and finally got sacks in a playoff game. He got 2 of them, and that clinching sack on third down on Burrow deep in Cincinnati territory, which forced the punt. Props to Sky Moore for catching punts and making a huge return on that last punt late in the fourth quarter, setting the Chiefs up near midfield. But my man of the game, of course, Patrick Mahomes, but the other man of the game was MVS. Yes, Marquez Valdez-Scantling caught 6 passes for 116 and a touchdown. He snagged the ball way to his left in Cincinnati territory early, caught a pass and ran down the sidelines into Cincinnati territory in another play. And then he stretched out. You probably saw that first down where he literally stretched his arm out about a yard or so and picked up that first down that was critical. And then subsequently caught a pass while sitting on his ass in the end zone as Mahomes threw a dagger into him, barely getting past the Cincinnati defender, and Scantling caught a touchdown. And he came up big as any time as Tyreek Hill would have come up for us. And, of course, we needed it as we lost 3 receivers during the game. Kadarius Toney to an ankle, Smith-Schuster to a knee, and McCole Hardman re-injured the pelvis. All did not practice today. Today is February 1st, 2023. And yes, the GOAT retired today. Tom Brady announced his retirement. Why he didn't wait till tomorrow on Groundhog's Day to say he was going to retire again, I don't know. I thought that would have been appropriate. But it was last year, February 1st, he announced his first retirement and then decided to come back. But he's done for good now. So the Chiefs will no longer have to worry about him, not that he was a threat this year anyway. So the Chiefs survived the Bengals, but the defense came up big. They came up with 2 interceptions, would have had a third except for a penalty. And the defense pretty much played lights out in the first quarter, shutting down Cincinnati's offense to no yards gained. Unfortunately, the Chiefs had to settle for field goals when Toney couldn't come down with the catch in the first quarter. And another touchdown was called back on a hold where Pacheco had run the ball in. So the score could have been much better. Obviously, if you got those 2 touchdowns, that would have been 8 more points. Had Mahomes not fumbled the meatball just inside his own territory around midfield, we might have drove for another score. Kansas City is definitely the better team than Cincinnati, and Cincinnati really lucked out the first 3 times, but they got a cold shoulder and Arrowhead this past Sunday. Also on Sunday, earlier in the day, the Philadelphia Eagles just mauled the San Francisco 49ers 31-7. It was a beatdown, literally, for the San Francisco quarterbacks. Brock Purdy back to pass, cocked his arm to throw and was hit. I think it was Hassan that hit him, and his arm was trying to go forward. The pressure of the defender hitting him kept his arm back, and it ended up tearing the UCL ligament in his elbow. They brought in Josh Johnson, who'd been in the league for a dozen years almost, originally drafted by the Bucks. So this man had been around 10, 12 years. And then he got concussed later on another hit. And then Brock Purdy had to come back in, but could only throw for about 5 yards. He couldn't throw any farther than that. And they just had to hand the ball off, and it was very, very ugly. And they later learned that Brock Purdy had indeed torn that ligament in his elbow and will require surgery and will not be seen until maybe training camp of next year. So let's go on. Philly crushing the 49ers, the Chiefs escaping Cincinnati, and really they outplayed the Bengals most of the game. The Bengals got that key touchdown on third down at the pylon. Nice throw by Burrow, dropped a dime in there to T. Higgins, and then later on connected to his buddy Jamar Chase downfield on a 4th and 1 for about a 30-yard gain down to the Kansas City 5, and they subsequently punched it in with Samaje Perine for the touchdown. But minus those two plays, Kansas City certainly outplayed the Bengals and are, in fact, the better team. We've been to the Super Bowl twice, Cincinnati once. Mahomes has won the Super Bowl MVP. We've won a Super Bowl. Cincinnati has never won a Super Bowl, whereas we are 2-2 in the Super Bowls. Now, Kansas City is preparing for its 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. The game will be played at State Farm Stadium in almost said Scottsdale. That's where the golf tournament's going to be. Glendale, Arizona. That's a suburb of Phoenix. And with the golf tournament and the Super Bowl down there the same weekend, you're going to probably have to get a room in Vegas if you're going to go, and then shuttle on over to Phoenix. Okay, so despite that, the most important takes from this weekend is that Philadelphia defensive line, 70 sacks during the season. However, I did notice that 32 of those sacks came in 5 of the last 6 games. So that's something to take note of. There were some games where they didn't have a sack or only had 1 sack. Jalen Hurts is still Hurts. His right shoulder is not allowing him to be as an efficient passer as he has been in the past. He's still running the ball, but not as effectively as before the shoulder injury because he's probably trying to protect that shoulder. If he gets punked in the shoulder, that thing's going to hurt. He may not be able to throw, and Gardner Minshew may have to come in. But Minshew is a very adequate backup quarterback. Philly has weapons on offense, and their defensive line and their secondary are tops in the NFL. So how are the Chiefs going to combat the Philadelphia defensive line and get through their secondary? Well, let me bring up the Chiefs box score from a couple of years ago. This is October 3rd, 2021. The game was at Philly, and the Chiefs go to Philly, and after the first quarter, it's 10-7 Philly. After the second quarter, it's 21-13 Kansas City at halftime. After the third quarter, it's 28-16 Chiefs. Both teams put up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and the Chiefs win 42-30. Let's look at some stats from the game. Patrick Mahomes, and this is in 2021, year and a half ago. Patrick Mahomes, 24 of 30. Very nice day, very efficient. 278 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 pick. Now, I'll note that our line was probably not as good that year. That would have been Orlando Brown's first year. And we had the rookies on the line, the center and guard, and we just brought over Tooney. And so this line has faced those Eagles before. Clyde Edwards-Helaire ran 14 times for 102 yards. And we have not seen Helaire this year for about 7 or 8 weeks. Darrell Williams, 10 for 42 and a touchdown. Mahomes, 5 for 26. Mecole Hardman ran the ball twice for 25, and Michael Burton once for 5. The big player of the game for the Chiefs that day was, in fact, Tyreek Hill with 11 catches for 186 yards and 3 touchdowns. Of course, Tyreek will not be in the Super Bowl with us this year as he is a Miami Dolphin. Travis Kelce did play, 4 for 23. Byron Pringle, 2 for 23. McCole Hardman, 2 for 16. Darrell Williams, 2 for 16. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 2 for 12. Jody Fortson was in that game, 1 for 2. Both Helaire and Fortson had touchdowns. Fortson 1 catch for 2 yards and a score. Edwards 2 catches for 12 and a score. That accounted for the 5 touchdowns. Mike Hughes led in tackles. Daniel Sorensen also. Hughes had 9. Sorensen had 9. Tyrann Mathieu had 4. Anthony Hitchens 4. DeAndre Baker 4. Mike Dana was in that game, 3 tackles. L'Jarius Sneed 3 tackles. Thornhill 3 tackles. Ben Neiman 2. Nick Bolton was in that game, 2 tackles. Tashard Wharton 1. Derek Nottie was in the game, a tackle. And so we have some players that were definitely in that game that will be in this game. So how did the Eagles come up with their 30 points? Well, they have a quarterback named Jalen Hurts. Jalen threw a lot of balls that day. He was 32 of 48 for 387 yards, carving up the Chiefs secondary, threw for 2 touchdowns. Hurts also was their leading rusher that day, 8 for 47. Kenneth Gainwell, who had a nice day there today, 3 for 31 and a touchdown. Miles Sanders was held in check. He's their lead back, 7 for 13. And their former receiver, Jalen Reagor, 1 for 12. Devonta Smith was their leading receiver, 7 catches, 122. Zach Ertz was on the team, then 6 for 60. Gainwell, the running back, 6 for 58. So he's a guy we definitely need to watch for. Dallas Goedert was in that game, 5 for 56 and a touchdown. Miles Sanders caught 3 for 34. Quez Watkins, 3 for 33. He's still on the team. And Greg Ward and Jalen Reagor are gone, but they did add A.J. Brown. And we faced A.J. Brown with the Titans. Now, the thing that day, the sacks. Let me get to the other part of this box score here. And there's some important stuff here. The total yards, Eagles, 461, Chiefs, 471. We had 200 yards rushing that day. And that's going to be key. We're going to need to do that. Our line's going to have to block really good for Mahomes. But the running backs are going to have to come up with some yards. We averaged 7.5 yards a play to Philly's 6.6. First downs were right at even, Chiefs 31, Philly 30. We were 9 of 10 on third down efficiency. I don't know if we can be that good this time, but we're going to need it. Philly was 6 of 12. Philly was 1 of 2 on fourth down. We never went for it on fourth down. The plays, Philly had 70, we had 63. We allowed only 1 sack to the Philly defense that day, and that's going to have to be how it is in the Super Bowl. And we did sack Jalen Hurts 3 times. Penalties were somewhat even. Chiefs had 7 for 46 yards. Eagles had 9 for 49, so the yardage was the same. 2 more flags on Philly. Mahomes threw the 1 interception. The Eagles did not turn the ball over. The time was right at even. Chiefs with 30 minutes, 52 seconds. Philly with 29:08, so really 31-29. A fairly even game except for the score. Philly had to settle for field goals, and the Chiefs got touchdowns for all of their scores, and all the extra points were made by one Harrison Butker. So that's where we are. The Chiefs are going to have to do another masterful job of blocking and probably holding a back in or an extra tight end to chip, help out. Maybe Wiley on the right side. He's a little weaker. We're going to have to look out for that Hassan kid. He's really quick. He had like 17 sacks this year. But the Chiefs have Karlaftis, who had a sack. Obviously, Jones did. I think Frank Clark had a sack. We had about 5 sacks on Joe Burrow this last week. We're going to have to look to do that to Hurts, hit him often, disguise the blitz, maybe bring the safety in, maybe Reed, Sneed if he's healthy, someone on there. Again, they got A.J. Brown this time. That's somebody you didn't have last time. He can be a big game player. He's been nicked up half the season. I had him on fantasy teams this year, along with Hurts. I did very well. That team got second place. I should have got first. A little mismanagement. We have a 2-week championship. In the first week, I had the wrong couple players in. But anyway, I lost by 0.06 of a point. It was very, very disappointing. But anyway, congratulations, James Edwards, out there if you're watching this. Anyway, so the Chiefs will have to do a great job blocking, holding back the Philly pass rush, keeping Mahomes' jersey clean. Mahomes has 2 weeks between the game, or almost a full 2 weeks, not quite, but obviously a week longer than he did between the Jacksonville game and the Cincinnati game. And so hopefully his ankle will be much better and he can scramble much more because he's going to have to probably run for his life on several plays. Hopefully Scantling can continue his postseason excellence. And hopefully we get back Kadarius Toney, McCole Hardman, and Juju. If not, Watson should be back. He had an illness. That's why he missed the game. Travis Kelce's back should be better. Hopefully Travis has a better game than he did last time against his brother's team. And yes, he's going up against his brother. The first time two brothers have competed on opposite teams in the Super Bowl. I know a lot of media outlets are touting this as the first ever two black quarterback Super Bowl, but please do not slight Randy Mahomes, Patrick's mother, as she is Caucasian. In fact, Patrick is biracial. So anyway, remember that as well. But so the score for this game is going to be really tough. I do not see it being a shootout like last time, 42-30. I would take that score in the Chiefs' favor. I think it's going to be a little lower. I don't know if they're going to play Hilaire or not, but he had a really nice game against the Eagles last time. Hopefully everybody's healed up in the next 10 days before the game and is able to participate. We're going to need everybody. Maybe Sky Moore will be back there again, catching and returning kicks. He did an excellent job in this last game. Usually it's going to be Kadarius Toney, but maybe Sky Moore's earned that. We'll see. Hopefully the Chiefs receivers get well. Marcus Kemp made a nice catch this last week for 13 yards and a first down. But we're going to need McKinnon and Pacheco in the running game and perhaps Hilaire. I haven't seen Michael Burton, the fullback, but maybe we'll see him. Maybe they'll line up in an eye and run a play that way, or maybe run a fullback dive for a first down. But this is going to be a great game. Both teams are 14-3. Both quarterbacks are young and have a lot of future ahead of them. Both quarterbacks are nursing injuries. I think Mahomes' injury is the lesser right now, whereas Jalen Hurts with that throwing right shoulder, he's a little bit compromised there. If he takes a couple hits there, it could get a little tougher for Philly, but we're going to have to keep Patrick Mahomes healthy and his jersey clean, and hopefully his ankle's ready to go. Again, he did run 18 miles an hour on that last play from scrimmage where he got the first down right before we got the win. So this video is a little shorter, but keep in mind, here's the big thing I've noticed as I looked at the schedule for both teams. The Chiefs did have the tougher schedule. Philly had one of the lighter schedules this year. The top two quarterbacks they faced were Jared Goff and Dak Prescott. Chiefs faced Kyler Murray, Tom Brady. We faced Joe Burrow twice. We faced Justin Herbert twice. Even Derek Carr earlier in the season. So the Chiefs faced a much tougher lineup of quarterbacks than the Eagles did. The one time they faced Mahomes, they gave up 42. Of course, we had Tyreek Hill. So I would expect a couple less touchdowns. So I'm going to give the Chiefs about 27. And I'll say the Eagles 23. So if the over-under is 50, I think it's going to be right there. Chiefs 27, the Eagles 23. Of course, barring significant injuries during the game and such. But the big thing I noticed about Philly was they do have a propensity to fumble the football. Hurts is good for about a pick a game in what I've seen. against tougher teams. And their losses this year were to New Orleans at home, which was a complete shocker. Now, Jalen Hurts did not play in that game. When he played, they were 14-1, and they lost only to the Washington Commanders at home. And in that Washington Commanders game at home, Tyler Hinkey did not throw a touchdown. He barely threw for 200 yards and threw a pick. So, but there were some fumbles on the Philly side. I think there were 3 of them that Washington recovered, and that helped lead them to a victory where they ran for touchdowns and kicked field goals, and Philly turned the ball over 3 or 4 times. So again, like I said in the video going to the Bengals, the idea is to turn the ball over, force punts, get picks, force fumbles, and hit their players hard, because they're going to be hitting us hard. This is for the World Championship, and I expect the Chiefs to win this Super Bowl against the Eagles, to win the Battle of the Brothers. Andy Reid throwing a Philly steak in Philly's face, even though he still loves the city and wishes them well, at least not this game. Should be a great matchup. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for watching my last video. Almost 600 people tuned in to watch that, so I hope to get that or even more this time. And again, I'm picking the Chiefs 27-23 over Philly. And it may come down to the Chiefs scoring a late touchdown to win this game, adding to the saga of Patrick Mahomes. All right, everybody, enjoy the next 10 days or so. And I might do a little pregame on the Super Bowl day of or night before. We'll see. We'll see how everything's coming in as far as injuries and everything like that, give you an update. Until then, thanks for watching.